Jamari Peterson of Core Strategies and Development and Snowball to come forward. All right, let's give him a hand clap. And then we also have Caleb Boyce, the head of Biz Ops and Strategy at Howard University, Black Creator Fund, Dapper Labs, Common.xyz, and Passbook Ventures. You got a bunch of jobs too. All right, let's give them a round of applause. We're gonna let them take it away.
Good day, everyone. Yes, it's just us. This is our opportunity to talk to you guys, and also we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to talk back as we go along, but I want to make sure we introduce ourselves.
Awesome. Just want to clarify, I'm actually not the head of Biz Ops Strategy for Howard University. I generally do Biz Ops Strategy for growing companies, which is everything from business operations, everything from legal, finance, accounting, HR, the tools we use, the process we have, so all that infrastructure, kind of back office stuff, I specialize in helping companies scale, and so right now I'm working for Common.xyz, which is a DAO community platform. So we allow communities to make decisions on chain.
All right, excellent, excellent. And this conversation is about the creation of valuable tokens. So, I mean, the first place to start is what is the token? Like, when we're talking about tokens, let's give them an explanation about what tokens are we referencing.
So I don't have the textbook definition, but it's used in pretty different contexts actually in crypto and blockchain. So you have a token that is like cryptocurrency, like how we know it, so something that's like fungible. And we also have does anybody know what an NFT stands for?
Non-fungible token.
Yeah, so it's another token that's it's essentially like the same mechanism, but used for a very different purpose a lot of times. And so, depending on what you're trying to do, people talk about, I launched a cryptocurrency and made a bunch of money, or somebody launched a cryptocurrency and I bought some of it and then I lost all my money, or I invested in Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever it was and I made a ton of money. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen with these fungible tokens, and that's a whole process around how you create the token, how you build a community around it, and really time it right and do the actual tokenomics of it, the economics of the token, to make sure that it actually is sustainable and can grow. So there's that part of it, and there's also, if you're trying to build, I work for the DAO community platform right now, and a lot of people are using NFTs to gate access to the community. So you can purchase an NFT, or you can do some sort of work, or have other NFTs or other tokens, and that qualifies you to have a civic token that give you access to a community or access to resources, or that are kind of that context. So
absolutely. So if I get this straight, creating a valuable token requires you to discover or identify a use case, a reason for that token to exist, right? So that creates that's the source of value, is creating use cases, and some of those use cases include NFTs, which are non-fungible tokens, and that can be stuff like art, or it could represent ownership in something. People are trying to create titles and deeds that are connected to them. But it can also be fungible tokens, which are used for Bitcoin would be the perfect example of a use case of money. Mm-hmm. But then you have tokens that are used for gas, I guess, Ethereum. It's a gas token, more so for operation. A lot of the other Ethereum virtual machines and the other implementations. You also have tokens that are used as a representation of ownership or governance, right? So can you talk about some of these use cases and what people have kind of seen as, you also worked at DAP.
Yeah.
So what were some of the use cases of tokens that you saw there, and what was making those tokens valuable?
Yeah, great question. I didn't actually include that. So I worked at Dapper Labs started in Biz Ops and Strategy, and actually was working on the Flow blockchain, building a grant program for Black creators and developers, launching dApps on the Flow blockchain, which is Dapper Labs blockchain. And so we gave away $1.2 million in grants over the course of a little less than a year. And a couple of the grantees are actually here. Shout out to Tanner with the Howard University DAO that received us. And Lance also was involved early too. It was pretty cool.
The question was within Dapper, what were some of the use cases of tokens from projects that came out of it? Because CryptoKitties was one of the projects, right?
Yeah.
And then they launched other things. Were they all NFTs, and what made those tokens valuable to people? What was the core value proposition behind them?
Yeah, so CryptoKitties was the first killer app that I think basically broke Ethereum? I think broke Ethereum for a little while because of the volume that was going on it, and it was a way to basically have composability on top of NFTs. So you could have NFTs and you can make them enhance them essentially, and that would increase the value, and then you can mix them or breed them with other kitties as well, and then that would create like more valuable, unique tokens. And so that really took off as like sort of a gaming context for how to use NFTs or how to apply NFTs. And then we also had like on the blockchain, we had a bunch of different use cases for NFTs. So a lot of artists were on there, so they were putting up their art and like having it for trade. There was also like we had within our grant program a couple different use cases. So one of the use cases like most interesting for me was, and the reason why I brought them in was they were using NFTs to basically license out data for satellites. So they were seeing all the satellite data, and satellite data is usually controlled by large corporations, governments, and military. And so there's a lot of there's an expectation that the data that's actually published is not going to be like legitimate, or it's like going to be maybe for political reasons or whatever reasons like manipulated. And so they were using tokens to actually secure access to this data and show that it was like that it was real and it hadn't been messed with, like in the way along the chain of how it's published. And so like there's all sorts of use cases that are coming out. I mean, people are really innovating in this way, and so tokens are really the foundation of like how to use like and apply different blockchain innovation, I think. But I have to say, like, speaking of tokens, like, you should talk about whatever you can talk about, you know what I'm saying? Because like this guy's a legend, honestly.
So one of the projects I launched is called Snowball, and it's an auto compounder and DAO on Avalanche. And basically what we did, we was able to connect all of our smart contracts to the variety of other tokens and opportunities that were on the network. And then we would wrap those tokens and create basically interest-bearing tokens. And those tokens then could be traded or used as a way of eventually redeeming for the value that's being created down the line, or also restate to actually earn governance inside of that ecosystem. And that governance provides you ability to vote on the allocation of other tokens, as well as to receive a portion of the revenue that was being created because of your active participation within that ecosystem. So that value was being created because not only were you holding the token, but you were active participant in the ecosystem. So that was like a use case for us. It was a governance meeting compensation kind of revenue generation type of structure. And I think at the end of the day, when we talk about valuable tokens, there's a thing called meme tokens, which are basically tokens that value come from the fact that people just like them. Like the value proposition is they're funny, they're interesting.
Dogecoin, yeah. Shiba,
yeah, like Dogecoin, Shiba Inu. These are like they have no underlying value to most people. We got 2 minutes, but tokens that we are referencing, well, most cases have a use case, have a design around them that's supposed to supplement some type of business or organizational model that is actually integrated with. So when we talk about tokens, a lot of times you should be thinking about what your sinks are. And when I say sinks, like how is this token being re-entered into the ecosystem, or why would people come off their tokens and use it in a way that's productive, and then actually create basically a virtuous ecosystem where they're spending it and buying it, or spending it and earning it. So that's what happens in the gaming ecosystem. And the staking and governance you're making it part of your actual operational use case. When it comes to the NFTs, your value proposition is sometimes art. It's sometimes a shared ownership in IP or intellectual property. Like we have new projects coming out. Like there's one called Parallel, which I like. It's a gaming project, and basically the sinks are part of the game system, but you're actually ownership a part of the IP as well. And these are kind of some of the use cases of making tokens valuable, is finding ways to innovate upon this structure that allows access to people around the globe. I was ask question.
Let's ask the question.
Innovate that question around the globe, but also provide them a very clear incentive mechanism to align their values with whatever your token's purpose is. So, question.
Yeah, I have one more thing I want to say, or I had a couple things I want to say, but if you think about like a token being like cryptocurrency, and this is a good thing to talk to other people who are trying to understand what is cryptocurrency about, or what is like blockchain about. You can take a token, like if you think of it like a dollar, like as a fungible, you can use it and go buy something, but you can't take a token and go use it to secure real estate. You can't take a token and go use it to like start doing derivative change, because it's just a dollar. it's a form of currency. And so that's the kind of the promise of blockchain and Web3 is like there's so much more utility that you can draw out of this fundamental technology that's inherently more secure and also inherently more scalable. And so I think that's what's really exciting about a lot of this stuff, is that this is like the infrastructure for financial technology going forward. And I just have to call out real quick one more thing. I love your shirt, bro. So we both went to Howard, so HU.
Let's give these two gentlemen an incredible hand. Thank you for sharing that information.